Alright, let's figure out how to use a photograph to make a super cool painting in Brushes Redux. So of course we pull down on the screen and type in B for Brushes Redux. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a painting much like this one right here. This is obviously a picture of my daughter. And what I did was I imported this photo into Brushes Redux, and then I used a really cool technique that I've already kind of shown some of you guys, which is a way to pick up a photo from, or pick up a color from a color that already appears in the painting and use it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press the plus button here, and I'm going to do a portrait. So I want my painting to be in portrait mode. So create. Now, in order to import a photograph, what we need to do is we need to use the photo button that's in the upper right hand corner. It's a little rectangle with what looks like a mountain landscape and a little sun up in the sky. But before we do that, we want to make sure that our painting is zoomed out, because we need to see the edges of the paper so that we know how we are placing our photo. So I'm going to go ahead and press that button, and you're going to see that it's going to pop up and show my available photos. Obviously I have more photos on mine than what you're going to have. You guys are going to actually have to take a photo before, and I'll show you how to do that. Most of you know how to do that. So I'm just going to scroll through my photos, and I'm going to select a picture. Now, I'm using two fingers here, and I'm cropping the photo. Basically, I'm deciding what part of it I want to use. So I think I want to make sure that my photo fills up the whole picture, of course. And then there's no white paper showing. Like, I wouldn't place it like that, because then I would have white paper showing, and I'd have to figure out some way to fill that in. And then tap accept. Now, if you tap accept and you decide you don't like this, all you have to do is press the undo button, and you see it takes it away, just like any other move here with our iPad. So, but I actually was pretty happy with that, so I'm going to go right back to it, place it the way that it was, and accept. Okay, now I'm going to show you the next step, which is to create layers. So at the bottom right hand corner, you'll see a little button down there, and right now on my screen it says 2. If I tap that button, then I get my layers menu. Now you see I have 2 layers here. One's blank because I haven't painted anything on it. It looks, you know, a layer is blank because obviously there's no painting there. You'll see sort of like a light and darker gray checked background. And then of course you'll see my layer with the photo. Now what I need to do is I need to put that blank layer on top of the photo, because I want to paint on top of it. Whoops. So on the right hand side of the layers, you'll see in the menu these 3 little horizontal bars. If I take my finger, hold down, I can drag those layers to reposition them. So now I have the top layer, which is blank, which I'm going to make my painting on, and then I have the photo layer. I'm actually going to create another layer by pressing the plus button in the upper right hand corner, but I want that one to actually be below the photo. So I have a blank layer on top of the photo, and I have a blank layer below the photo, and I'll tell you what that blank layer below is for later. But what we need to do before we get out of here, because we're pretty much done with our work, is we need to make sure, and I've made this mistake many times, that we select the top layer. We want to be painting on the top layer. By default, the iPad will select the layer you last were working on. So if we just place the photo, that's the layer that we were last working on, then we'll be painting on top of the photo. And what we're going to do is, at the end of this painting, we're going to completely delete the layer with the photo, so all that's left is the painting. So once you make sure you have the correct layer highlighted blue, then you're done with the layer. You can press the same button to get it to go away. Now, we're not going to use this menu at all, except to do one thing, and that's to create a background. But we're going to do that at the very end, or maybe sometime in the middle. What we're going to do is we're going to pick an area to begin, and we're going to make sure we have our brush slider on about 40 is probably good. Now, we could do this technique and make a really, really hyper-realistic painting if we wanted to. And you'll see what I mean in just a moment. But I actually don't want to do that. I actually want to sort of stylize this painting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our finger and hold down, and you'll see the ring. Now, you see the ring, as I move it around, it's picking up color from the photo. So what we're doing is we're actually selecting colors from the photo, and we can paint with it. We can also change what our painting looks like with the type of brush that we're going to use. So I'm going to use one there that you see selected in blue, looks sort of like an airbrush. If we use any of these other ones, it would completely change the look of our painting. So I want it to look like that, with this airbrushy brush stroke, not like a super hard line like a top brush that we used before. Now, once I've got that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting. Now, whenever I show people this, they always say the same thing to me. They say, "Oh, Mr. Hitchcock, that's going to take a long time." Well, it doesn't take quite as long as you might think. That painting that you saw of Emma that I actually did that a few days ago. I think I spent about 25 minutes on that. So once you get this down, of course, there's factors here that will change how long it takes. Like, for instance, if I do a smaller brush stroke, then it's going to take a lot longer because I'm using less of a mark to fill in a space. So, and all I'm doing is I'm just making marks. I'm just making, if this was a real painting, it would basically be like a brush stroke, a splotch of paint here and there. I'm not worried about making it super accurate. That's going to make my painting have a unique look. Sometimes you have to wait for the ring to pop up, by the way. Sometimes it likes to be a little funky there, and it doesn't want to pop up when you want it to. Whoops. Of course, if you make a mistake, which you probably will do a few times here and there, use that undo button. So all I'm doing right now, as you can see, I'm just filling it in. And at this point, it's just focus, concentrate, and relax. Very important to relax in this, because you're going to sit there and think. If you think about it too much, you're going to think, "Oh, this is going to take forever. Oh, I don't want to do this." But if you just relax and concentrate on what you're doing, make your mind filled only with what you're doing, those thoughts won't bother you so much. And this is something that artists learn how to do rather well, is to sort of block out everything else around them and only focus on. You see, I'm starting to have trouble talking now, because now at certain points here, you're probably going to need to change your brush size just to fit into smaller areas. And you notice that, like, even with this eye here, it's very abstract what I'm doing. Very abstract. I'm not trying to make it super accurate to the photo that was there. Because then I'd just have a copy of the photo. I'd have a very laborious, long, boring copy of a photo, and I don't want that. I want this to become a painting. In a way, this is sort of like tracing. If you were to take a photo and you were to take a piece of paper and lay that you could see through, lay it on top of the photo, or comic book character picture or whatever, it doesn't have to be a photo, and you were to trace it. It is sort of like that in a way, but in another way it's not like that, because I'm not really tracing it. Tracing is a way to sort of replicate an image in a very exacting way, and that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm abstracting this photo. I'm making this photo into a work of art. I'm being creative with the way that I do this. And if you think about it, there's a lot of things that I could do with this technique to change it and make it different. Like, I could choose a different type of brush. I could choose a certain way to make the marks. Like, what if I just did circles like this? What if I filled the whole face up with just little circles, splotches? That would change the shape of my brush stroke, and that would also change the whole look of the painting, really. Now, there's an artist who does something, and we've talked about him before not this year, but in previous years, Chuck Close. He's the guy who, if you remember, he is in a wheelchair, and he is a partial quadriplegic, and he has lost the ability of using his fingers because he's a partial quadriplegic, which means you're paralyzed from the neck down. But he's only partial because he can still kind of move his arms a little bit. He can even move his hands a little bit. And he uses a device that holds a paintbrush for him since he can't use his fingers. And he makes paintings much in a similar manner, although he breaks the face up into very small pieces. And each piece, like a grid, he paints these abstract sort of shapes. I'm going to make my brush stroke a little bit smaller. And you can see I've got a lot of the face done here. Now, I want to stop for a moment here and show you what that bottom layer is for. So, when you're doing this, if you open up your layers menu, you can see how much you've covered. And the way that you would do this is, if you look at the layer with the photo, you see there's a little eye right there. If I shut that eye by tapping it, then all I can see right now is my painting. That layer is hidden, in other words. So you can see, now that I've hidden that layer, I've got all these little gaps in my painting. And I could go in and I could fill those in. But a quicker way to do it, and a way that I think is interesting, is to use this bottom layer here and to choose a background color. So maybe I do gray like this, and then make sure that I'm operating on that, and I just fill it in, and you see that all those little gaps kind of get filled in with that background color, and it looks even more so like a painting, which makes it interesting. Now, to get back to work, I just go back into the layers. I go to this layer, I turn the eye back on so I can see it, and then I make sure that I select my layer with my painting on it, get rid of that, and then now since I unhid the layer with the photo, I can't see my background color, and I'm free to, oops, make sure you turn this back down. I'm free to go back into doing what I was doing. And you can really do that anytime. You could do that at the very beginning of the painting, create that background color at the beginning if you wanted to, or at the very end if you're patient. I'm not quite so patient. I kind of like to, it's a good way to take a break too. Sometimes when you're working like this very laborious process of covering up this photo, you are going to want to take some breaks and do something different, and that keeps your mind sharp, because you if you keep doing the same thing, you get rather tired of it and you may not finish what you're doing. But there's a huge payoff when you finish a painting like this. It's very cool to see a finished painting in this style and look at it and know that you made it. Other people will be very impressed at your painting, and you'll probably amaze yourself a little bit. And it's really, really fun to watch the playback of a painting like this, because it looks like it's just forming a really super realistic drawing in just a few moments. So sometimes the ring doesn't want to pop up when you first put your finger down. You just got to kind of pick it up and give it another whirl. Let's see, I'm getting pretty close to being done here. You can kind of tell the difference between the photo itself and the painting. Once you start to paint for a while, you'll see that the areas that have more of a pixelated look are definitely from the photo, and the areas that have more of a smooth look are where you've put down color. Looking pretty cool now. Getting closer to being done. Now, I'm not going to worry about the background of this photo so much. And I'm not going to worry about, her clothing as much as I did of the face. The clothing doesn't have to be quite as accurate. You can get really loose with the clothing. Loose means that it's not super, the painting is not super, what's the word I'm looking for here? Loose means that it's kind of like just really, in a way it's kind of sloppy, but in an organized way, if that makes sense. That's loose. So like here, this whole area, I'm not going to worry about the checkered pattern. I'm just going to make it a white overall texture. And this is not something that we would do in the regular art class, because this is a much more laborious sort of process, something that takes a lot of time. So I'm only making this video, honestly, to show you guys at home who want to try out some things that we don't get time to do. So I hope you definitely do try this. Whoops. I'm not even going to worry about getting her hair super accurate, because that background color that I made is going to fill it in. But you can see I've got a little bit of transparency right there where I can see through. I don't know what that red and white thing is there in the background. It looks like somebody's shirt or something, but it's behind her and you can see it. So oops, getting close to being done, so I'm getting excited to see what it all looks like when I take the photo away. The moment that you work for in something like this, where finally it's revealed. Getting closer, getting closer. And, if you get tired, take a break. Come back to it. You don't have to do this all at one time. I have to, because I'm recording a video about it. But you don't. You can, do part of it and come back and do another part of it, and you can have some nice music on while you're doing this. That's something that I usually do. I can't do that now because I'm doing an instructional video, but I would normally have like some good music to listen to and enjoy it. It's fun. And you make a cool picture of someone and you give it to them and they have something really cool, a cool portrait. That's another thing about this, is that you pick someone that you like and you make something for them. How's this for a Mother's Day present idea? Hey Mom, I made a really cool portrait of you. Why not? She'd dig it, I bet. Alright, pretty close here. All this stuff down here, I kind of want to leave it really loose and not filled in all the way. I want the face to be the emphasis. This is another thing that we think about as an artist, is what is the part that the viewer is going to focus on the most. And of course, with a portrait, obviously the answer is they're going to focus on the face. So you want to spend the most of your time working hard in that area. They're not going to linger over all of the really elegant work that you've done in the clothing. They're going to look at the face. So there's that. And that's sort of like a little way to get yourself out of having to do a huge amount of work down here. Unless you want to. Of course, there's always somebody out there who is a perfectionist and wants to, make this part as fabulous as the face. It just depends on what your style is, what you're going for. I kind of like that, the sketchiness of art, the sort of here I am, an artist. I'm only gonna focus on the important stuff, and the rest of it's gonna be loose sketch. All right, let's see what we got here. We've got a pretty good painting. Now, I might want to come up in here and do some really small work really fast here. So this will contrast a little bit with the back. I'm trying to get a dark color like that. There we go. And I'm just going to use that color for all this. And then these will weave up into her hair here. So pretty good. All right, so let's have a look at what we've got. So we'll move that over, and yeah, it's pretty good. Now, I think that a darker color for this background here will be more effective. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this down to here. Yeah, that's probably good. And I'm gonna go back over to here, and I'm just gonna, yeah, that's better. Why is it that a darker color is better? Well, you want the background to move to the back. So darker colors or cool colors do that. Brighter colors pop out at you. So you want to have a little bit of contrast in there. I think I'm going to grab this color over here. And she had a little bit of those hair tips. See, this is where you've got to make sure you're on the right layer. And you've also got to make sure that you're using the right size. So she had a little bit of those types of hairs over here. And maybe just a few of these lighter colors coming through here just to make it pop out a little bit more. In fact, we could even do really, really skinny lines to really look like, yeah, see, look at that. That really looks like hair. Just for some highlights to pop out from the background, It's a nice little finishing touch here. And she's got a little bit more over here. We might even get really clever and come in here and just do a few of these right in here. And we might get really clever with ourselves and choose a really dark color like this and go into the eye and just make a really tiny mark right in there. That's actually probably could be a little bit darker. Right in there. And could be a little bit bigger actually. You know what that is. That's the pupil. We could even be really clever with ourselves and come in there and do a little line just like that, just to emphasize the eye a little bit. And do that little mark right there. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So, yeah, I think I'm going to end this painting right here. I'm going to tap back to the gallery, and I'm going to name this Emma Miranda, because that's who she's dressed up at. That's what she was for Halloween. And this one is just... And there, by the way, Emma's getting all the attention here because she's the one that likes to load selfies onto my iPad. So she's getting it. Emma and then Emma Miranda. And then we can open up our painting and we can press the play button and watch our work here. And it's going to be a long video. Long video. All right. Well, you know, if you watch this video and you want to try this technique out, definitely upload it to Art Sony and let me know what you thought. I know you guys will do something really great. So, thanks for watching.